y'all today? It's Aliesha, or you can call me Lai. Today we are talking about one of my favorite topics. Actually everything I film about is my favorite topic, to be honest. We're gonna talk about how to glow up mentally. Oh my god, yes, girl, yes. I'm so excited. Okay. I'm so excited. Okay, yeah. I wanted to do this video because I just think the mental glow up is so important before you do any kind of physical things with yourself, and any physical changes to yourself. Because when I first started on like my, I was talking about my self-love journey, but I just love talking about self-love, okay? But when I first started on my self-love journey, I tried to like just only focus on physical things, and I slowly realized that just wasn't working for me, mainly because I didn't realize the toxic relationship that I had with myself. And a lot of people have almost this toxic relationship with their mind and their self, not realizing that mental and physical kind of go together. Not even kind of, they go together. 80% of the battle, I feel like, is the mental health, and then 20% is probably like the physical or whatever. I just made up some numbers, but I'm just saying, like, honestly, if you are trying to level up, glow up, or whatever, the main battle is your mindset, your mental health, your how you feel, basically, because how you feel is going to determine what you do for yourself, or you know, how you present yourself in the way that you want. Or you know, if you're feeling sad, it's gonna show on the outside, okay? Most likely, you know, if you hate yourself, it's gonna show, you know. I like to think it's going to show. And in order for us to be confident bosses, and in order for us to love ourselves, then we need to fix that mental and that mindset, honestly. So I got my little iPad, I got my notes. I always have my notes. Before you think about how you can level up mentally, or how to be in a better mindset or a better well-being, I want you to visualize your perfect person. And I won't say I'm not gonna say perfect. Let me not say perfect, because we all know on this channel we talk about how everybody is not perfect and we don't have to be perfect. But visualize your ideal self. Like, what do you look like? How do you feel on a day-to-day basis? How would you want to feel about yourself? How do you want your mind to be? Like, do you want to be positive, as everybody should, I honestly think? Do you want to be positive? Do you want to feel good about yourself? How do you want to feel about yourself? How do you want to feel about other people? How do you want to feel about the world? Like, how do you want to be on a daily basis? And then after you visualize like that perfect person, or not even just, we're not going to even just talk about how do you want to feel, but also like, what do you want your standards to be? Because I do think standards, we're going to talk about that later, but standards are important when it comes to like the mental glow up. What kind of standards do you want? What are your values? And even we can go as far as looking at like, how do you want to look physically? Because I think deciding how you want to look physically can help, because you know, like because mental and physical go together. So I feel like if I know I want to look a certain way, then I'm gonna have to mentally work on my mindset to get there. So like, make sure you are visualizing how do you want to look, how do you want to feel, all of those things. Now, once you finish visualizing this stuff, now you want to assess where you're at right now. And this may be hard for some people, because sometimes accountability and being honest with yourself is honestly the battle in itself. But you have to be raw and honest with yourself. How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel on a day-to-day basis? Do you walk around hating your life? Do you walk around hating the world? Do you walk around hating yourself? You know, how do you feel? Are you sad? Are you sad most days? Are you happy most days? What makes you happy? What is making you sad? You know, you have to assess how you are feeling. before anything can change. Because I think when you're honest with yourself and you're honest with how you feel and where your mental is at and your mindset's at, that's how you can move on. But you can't move on until you understand your feelings and understand why you feel the way you do. We're gonna talk about how somebody may feel maybe when they don't like themselves. So think about how do you speak to yourself on a daily. Are you treating yourself bad? Do you treat yourself bad? So basically what I'm saying is, like, do you tell yourself you're ugly every day? Do you tell yourself that you aren't good enough every day? Do you say those things to yourself? And if you say those things to yourself and you're honest and you're like, okay, I do say those things to myself, then you need to work on that. So how do you work on that, right? You have to take those negative things that you were saying to yourself and turn them into positive things. I talk about this a lot in all of my videos, but honestly, it works. I think one of the first things that I started to do when I was mentally trying to get to where I needed to be, I started journaling. I started journaling how I felt every day. And honestly, these thoughts were really, really bad. I can't even imagine looking back at my old journal, because they probably were so filled with so much insecurity. It's so crazy because where I'm at now, I'm like, girl, I love me some me, okay? But back then, oh girl, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was sad. Okay, I gotta look at where this mindset is coming from. So if you tell yourself you're ugly every day, okay, why do you think that? Do you know why you think that? If you tell yourself you are, I don't know, what are some unkind words? That you're not good enough, or that you can't do anything. Why do you think that? You gotta look back in the past and be like, okay, well, why do I feel this way? Oh, I feel this way because somebody told me I wasn't good enough. Or, oh, I feel this way because society makes me feel like this. Or maybe I feel this way because, I don't know, like trauma or childhood or whatever. You have to dig up why you feel this way, and you have to work on your limiting beliefs. You have to work on why you don't feel your best, why you don't feel good enough, why whatever you're feeling, you need to start putting in the work. You need to start journaling. You need to start making journaling your negative thoughts and making them into a positive thought. And when I say this is, take a negative thought such as like I'm ugly, and underneath it you need to be like, no, I'm beautiful. You need to say things like that to yourself. But self-affirmations and self-affirming yourself is only half of it, because you also have to figure out where it's coming from. And a lot of these things that you're telling yourself probably is a lie. It's a lie. Now I wanna also talk about people in your life. So this is very, 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 very huge in the mental mindset. Because you could be surrounding yourself with people that don't even like you. You could be surrounding yourself with toxic people that aren't treating you well, that mentally are destroying you and who you are, and not making you shine, and not allowing you to, they're dimming your light, or you're allowing your light to be dimmed in front of them because they're toxic, or because they're hurting you, or because you think that you may deserve that stuff. Let me tell you, people treat you how you treat yourself. So we're gonna talk about this in terms of staying when you know somebody is toxic to you or hurts your feelings. So you cannot control how people initially react to you or treat you. I don't think you can always control that, right? But if you stay around somebody who you know has deliberately been mean to you, is toxic to you, doesn't like you, hurts your feelings, is, you know, all of these things, they're going to treat you exactly how you treat yourself. So if you don't walk away from people who are mentally draining you, who are mentally hurting you, they're going to keep doing what they're doing to you, you know, and it's not going to get better. When you surround yourself with positive people, you become very positive. yourself. And you can't keep surrounding yourself with people who are treating you bad, because they're gonna make you feel like you don't want to, they're gonna make you feel like you don't like yourself, they're gonna make you feel like you don't deserve to be treated well, they're gonna make you feel like all of these things. And it's not only their fault, because you have to hold a mirror to yourself and hold yourself accountable and be like, okay, well, why am I sticking around with somebody who's hurting me? Or why do I think that this person is going to change when they've showed me countless of times that that's who they are? You cannot take people at their potential, or you can't take them as something you've made up in your mind about them. You have to take them with how you are seeing things and what you see them do to you. So if they're treating you bad, or you feel bad about, bad after you hang out with them, or around them, or talk to them, or whatever, if you feel bad in any sort of way, then that's your indication that you that you need to get away from that person, because mentally they're draining you, they're hurting you, they're doing all of these things to you, and you don't know how much your life can change once you surround yourself with the right people, once you surround yourself with people who want to be positive, who think of life as positive, who also are on the path of growing and glowing and doing all these things that you see yourself doing. And that's why looking at how you want to be and visualizing your ideal self is important, because when you visualize your ideal self, then you can get around spaces where those people are just like that. But if you don't know who you want to be and who you are at this current moment, how can you expect to get around people who are doing exactly what you want to do? So you need to make sure you assess how you are now, and you assess the people around you, and make sure that you are surrounding yourself with other people. Also, let's talk about boundaries and standards. And I want to talk about boundaries because boundaries is a big one, because honestly, if you have no boundaries for yourself, or like you don't create boundaries and you're constantly like people pleasing, or you're constantly doing things for other people, or you're constantly allowing them to do things to you, and you lack these boundaries, it's going to mess with your mental health so bad. Because each time somebody does something to you that is your boundary, you're gonna feel like somebody took something away from you. Honestly, like, it's gonna feel like somebody just ripped something from you. And if you lack boundaries and you don't create boundaries for yourself, or certain standards, or things like that, like, your mental health is going to go in the trash. This is going back to people treat you how you treat yourself. So if you never treat yourself as a priority, how do you expect for your mental to be good? So you always need to treat yourself with the utmost respect, first of all, and you need to treat yourself as a priority, because nobody else is going to treat you as a priority. Nobody else is going to do that for you. You need to be checking in on yourself. You need to be making sure that you're okay before you check in on somebody else. You need to make sure that you're okay before you entertain anybody, or before you anything. Like, make sure that you put yourself first, and you create boundaries, and you make yourself a priority, because once you make yourself a priority, you will see other things blossom in your life. And once you make yourself a priority, you can also start to give to other people, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. Another way that I want to talk about how I leveled up mentally, oh my god, and just really quickly, I started to make sure you are reading a bunch of books on things that you need to work on yourself. So if you know that you have a problem with people pleasing, then you need to be reading books about people pleasing, or you need to be reading books about putting yourself as a priority. Or who was that? If you don't like reading, I recommend podcasts, because when I'm at work, I listen to like podcasts, and I either listen to podcasts or just like YouTube videos about people like leveling up and like talking about their experience and just things that I need to work on. So if you know your weaknesses, you can also start to work on those weaknesses And I think this is so important because this is going back into surrounding yourself with people, positive people, and people who are people who are where you want to be in life. So if you can't find people who are like physically in your life that are where you want to be, online is so perfect for that, because I swear my mindset has changed so much once I started to listen to podcasts, read books, do all of these things in order to become like more positive, and like in order for my mind to be even just broadened. Like it broadened my mind, it broadened like my knowledge in certain things. And honestly, I think it just made me so like well-rounded in a sense, because I was able to learn new things. I was able to also think differently, and I was able to start like realizing that certain things that I wanted in my life was possible. This is important because you can have this limiting belief that something isn't possible, but then when you see it online, or you see somebody like surrounded by it, or when you see it like, or hear about it, or hear about somebody else's journey, or you even just listen to a podcast of encouraging words or whatever, you start to be like, oh my god, this is possible. And then you start to work on these things. But if you never surround yourself with things and people who are where you want to be, you're going to continue to have that limiting belief that you cannot get to where you want to be. You got to find things in your life that you're grateful for. So I know for me, when I was trying to level up mentally, and I was trying to get out of a place of just feeling sad, I had to ask myself like, hey, like, what am I grateful for? Like, what is actually going good in my life, you know? And I think a lot of people can sometimes tend to dwell on the negative things in their life that isn't working out or isn't happening for them, and that can put you in a really sad state. But if you look at the things that are going right in your life, or look at things from a different perspective, so if something is happening to you, instead of being like, why is this happening to me, instead of saying to yourself like, why is this happening to me, be like, okay, what is this teaching me? Because sometimes when you change your perspective like that, you start to realize like, hey, this thing is actually teaching me something. This is just something that I have to go through to get to the next level. And your mindset, the way your mindset changes when you start to think of negative things as just, oh, it's just teaching me something, girl, I promise you, you're gonna be like, girl, I know I'm going through this hardship, but girl, I know for a fact that this is teaching me something, and this is just the step that I have to get to in order to become my higher self, in order to become the woman that I want to be. And that's what I'm saying, like that mindset shift, that perspective shift, all of that is going to help you into becoming that woman, because you're going to be like, oh, well, you know, I am going through this, but like, I just think this is teaching me this. And I'm not saying like every time you are going to be like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, of course, we're not going to always be like that, because there are things that happen that are like, oh my God, what the heck? Like, what the what the F? But like, I think with me, most of the time, I just try to at least have that mindset shift, and like change my perspective on things, and be like, you know what, this might actually be teaching me something. And then honestly, like, I think mentally I just become more calm, and I'm able to be like, okay, like, I'm able to honestly still be on track with my goals, because I'm like, okay, well, this is teaching me something, so it doesn't mean like give up, it means to keep going, basically. I also think another, which I should have talked about in the beginning, another thing with leveling up mentally, honestly, and this goes with like digging up traumas, digging up your past, honestly, go to therapy. Go to therapy. I am not a therapist, but honestly, therapy has helped me so much, and it's helped me to see things that I would have never saw in my life before. And I think just having somebody to talk to about when you are trying to become like it, when you are trying to change your mindset and level up mentally, being able to talk to somebody about what you're going through is so important, because I cannot talk about how many times I've allowed myself to, my emotions to just stay bottled up, and it was never like a good feeling, because it was never a good feeling, because when those emotions would come out, that's when I started to like blow up, because I'll be like, I would leave certain things like bottled up inside, and then after a while it had to come out, and it was just never good for me, you know. But having a therapist, they're, you know, they're licensed, they're supposed to help you with things. So like, I just think in a way, like, you'll have somebody to be able to talk to, and honestly mentally be able to feel better, because you know, you were able to release how you are feeling. And aside, another thing that I want to talk about, when it another thing I want to talk about that kind of goes along with this, but not necessarily, you also got to be an advocate for yourself. You have to check in on yourself every single day. So if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling happy, if whatever you feel that day, you need to wake up every single day and be like, hey, how do I feel right now? And then if you say, oh, hey, like, self, how do I feel right now? And I'm feeling sad, then you need to be like, okay, well, what can I do to cope with this sadness? How can I make myself feel better? What do I need in this moment? And then you need to give it to yourself. You cannot, first of all, you can't pour from an empty cup, you know, and you cannot go throughout the day not understanding how you feel and your emotions. You need to start building that habit with asking yourself, hey, how do I feel? Because if you never ask yourself how you feel, how do you expect to be mentally able to do the things that you want to get done? How do you expect to, I don't know, look good for that day? How do you expect to be productive that day? How do you expect to get things done if you don't understand how you feel and where your emotions are coming from? You know, you need to make sure you check in on yourself every single day, and you also need to make sure that you are finding healthy ways to cope with stress, finding healthy ways to cope with anger, sadness, whatever you need to do in order to help your emotions. Because I cannot, like, there are so many times that I had maybe been stressed that day and I didn't even know. So then it was like I was overwhelmed, but I was still trying to do things and I couldn't. But when I started to check in on myself and be like, okay, I'm stressed, and I asked myself, okay, well, what can I do to de-stress? Even though, like, maybe I couldn't get rid of whatever was happening to me at the moment, there are things that you can do to help with how you feel mentally. So if I was stressed, I'd be like, okay, maybe I could take a bubble bath, you know? And it sounds so simple, but it's like things that sometimes we don't even think about, that like, we're like, okay, what can I do to de-stress? And for me, like, I love taking baths, y'all. Like, oh my God, I love baths. And so tea, oh my goodness, yes ma'am. But for me, something like as simple as taking a bath could help my whole day. It can help me feel so much better. And if I don't understand myself, if I don't get to know myself, if I don't ask myself every single day, like, hey, how am I doing? How would I know ways to cope with my anger, my sadness, my stress? How would I know that? So you have to make sure that you are trying to at least check in with yourself every single day, because that is so important when it comes to wanting to level up mentally, in order to and it's also a perfect way to treat yourself as a priority, because you're making sure that you are good for that day, that you're okay for that day, so that you can perform at your best ability. But you cannot perform at your best ability if you are just mentally drained and you don't even know it. Come on, y'all. No. You gotta be kind to yourself. You gotta speak life into yourself. Self-affirmations. I do self-affirmations every single day, or at least I try to. Sometimes I don't get to it, but I make sure I do self-affirmations a ton, and I'm uplifting myself a ton. Look at yourself in the mirror. Tell yourself that you're beautiful. List things that you also love about yourself beyond the surface level, not even just your looks, but what do you like about yourself? You know, you need to list all these things that you like about yourself, so that you can have something to go back to when you are feeling down, when you are feeling like you're not enough. You need to have a list of things past the surface level that you actually like about yourself, you know. And then you need to start treating yourself well. You need to start treating yourself well when you're by yourself, when you're around other people, because honestly, like, girl, don't allow people to treat you bad. Please don't allow people to treat you bad, and don't treat yourself bad, because that is just, girl, that is messing up your mental health. All right, this video is already really long enough. I hope I touched on everything I wanted to touch on, because sometimes I do these videos and then I'm like, oh my god, I forgot to say this and I forgot to say that, and I'm like, oh, like part 2, but then I never do the part 2, so I'm just like, I'm not even gonna be like, oh, maybe I'll do a part 2. Like, girl, I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely want to do a video on how to level up physically, but we'll see. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe, and go ahead and watch my other videos. I feel like they're like really good, so yes. And I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.